Welcome back, and as usual, the James Bond lens.
Okay,
there we go, side. They switched it over.
Wait.
She predicts
Let
it.
me help you. There you go.
She sees the future.
It's a Dusty 3-0. That's what my future says.
Okay. Yeah, it's like,
Okay, what needs to happen? Hecarim might be available, so
what's the answer?
Riddle will not be forced to ban Hecarim.
Okay.
They take away
I
the
like
volleyball. Jinx could also be a B1 for the bot lane, finally getting Valiant in something else and forcing Vincent away from his company.
I would say you don't necessarily care too much about the Jinx. If you can pick the Aphelios, Faction has played the Aphelios to a great extent. Yeah. So I think right here, you just do not ban the Hecarim, especially if he doesn't get banned from Dusty, right? And you just first pick the Hecarim. You play the Lee Sin. Just stop playing Rumble at this point.
The other thing is, like, okay, at this point, one of something like Zeri or Hecarim's getting through. So the question then is...
I don't think Zeri's getting through. It's going to be probably banned by Riddle.
Well, I mean, like, the only other thing is, like, okay, so they ban it, so they don't want to first pick it, which suggests that Fadichan doesn't play it. Do you ban the Jinx and force an Aphelios first pick, and then,
you ban the Hecarim,
and then you just take the trade? Fine.
Yeah.
That's pretty acceptable. So it's just a triple MC.
I'll put them on. Wait.
What a surprise!
I see you. I see you.
Right. So now that the AD carry's been locked in, you don't actually have to respond here. You can just go for jungle.
Imagine here Dusty locks in.
Rumble.
In Rumble.
John Rumble. Just show him how it's done. That would be the ultimate in this respect. I mean, honestly, that was a thing way back in like 2015 and stuff. Like how SKT used to beat you was they would used to give you all your best champions and crush you with it. And then you would get them banned out and then it would be trouble. I love this though, because when they beat Veneer, they got to go Caitlyn bot lane and
I want to see this.
Bot
I
really like that.
So he's either hovering to tell him, see, you can pick your Lee Sin into me, right? Or he's hovering it to lock it in, and in this case, you take away his Lee Sin as well. Xin Zhao is pretty good, especially when you're going to have probably Lux, Caitlyn bot lane. I think Xin Zhao is super crucial.
This could be the first time we see Viking in this series playing for the bot lane,
He took it away from MC.
Okay.
There you go. There's no Lee Sin for MC. What is the answer?
You have to lock in the Jinx Zhao.
I mean, so there is an option here where you go Gwen as well pretty early instead of go towards the LeBlanc.
Finally.
So slow Q onto an AP threat, that makes sense in terms of the mid jungle, maxing your damage. It's a kill combo, which is pretty nice. Considering that the mid lane has often been a little bit of a focal point in the early game, I think there's a bit more proactive. You can actually be effective pre-6 in terms of a proactive gank, not just a reactive gank. Thank you, MC and slow Q.
They are adapting, finally.
I think here you could be looking into possibly like a Morgana as well, unless you really want to go with the Lux. Okay, you want to go with the Lux. So I'm thinking here, what do you have to take away? The Tam Kench was banned consistently by Dusty, and right here, because Riddle has not necessarily picked a support, the Tam Kench could be a good shout for them, together with the Jinx to take it away. The Thresh also.
Fiona, possibly, if you want to stop
the Thresh or the Nautilus, yeah.
So, I mean, like, the question is whether you want to deny safety or deny engage, because obviously Caitlyn...
deny one of both.
Yeah, one of both, exactly. And, like, there is an argument to be said for playing either or. If you're playing safety, you're basically saying, look, I just need to not die and lose absolutely everything in the first 10
Most likely going to be like a Nautilus Tam Kench right here, and they're gonna force nukes again back onto probably something like the Leona, which makes absolute sense, right?
I really like the Veigar ban there in terms of, like, it's really obnoxious with Caitlyn and Lux as well because your zone control is just obscene. The question is then what you go along with. Honestly, Vex might not be a bad ban. The Gangplank away from Kex, which has been a special for him.
Viking must have been shouting that one. It's like, guys, we're not playing Caitlyn Lux anymore with Gangplank open.
Take him away.
Shen's still up though, so that could be an option for Kex.
I'd like to see Kex on a weak side matchup. I'd like to see him on something like the Ornn, on something like the Shen that he's been playing out. Actually, having the Shen here, even into a bad matchup, could prove to be really clever because you have a Jinx in the bot lane and they have Lux with Caitlyn that permanently want to push. Viking is probably going to want to make plays down the bot lane to just get the Caitlyn Lux ahead. So having that Shen, being able to dive in together with the Xin or the LeBlanc, I think it's going to be super crucial.
I can agree
Seems
with that.
They might go for the Nun as well. They take away the Irelia as well, so it could be a reply.
Wise is really nice here in the sense that you can get shove against LeBlanc early. You can roam down bot. You've got a pretty good like late game in terms of the fact you can split brush super well, you're not bad with the team fights. It also leaves counter pick to Aleph, who has done really disgusting things when he's had the way of the matchup, and he's probably going to get that here. If Kex goes towards the Karma top and we end up with a Yumi bot, which is definitely a possibility. It's been done before. I just don't know whether I like it. I still feel like Aleph can.
You have
really
two people
Okay,
pushing in, so finally we get the Ornn to the top side.
So, I mean, this is just a Camille angle, isn't it? Just go back that again. You can win that pretty easily, unless they want to really go aggro and go for the Akshan.
I think honestly you get a pretty free lane if you play into the Ornn, so anything that Aleph wants to take. I think the Aatrox works here, the Gragas I think works even better, because then you can actually reach the Jinx in the backline as well. I mean, he has all three.
There's a lot of options.
So he has 4 picks that he's mainly played, the Ornn in it, but I think the Aatrox here gets a pretty free lane, and honestly, you're gonna have Ornn, Xin Zhao, and LeBlanc diving into you. These guys going forward, and the Aatrox get in the flank onto the Jinx, and Karma is gonna be bad news.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, if Aatrox, Ryze, and Lee Sin can play Bounce House, so everyone dives into them, and that's their kind of damaged range, and it keeps the Caitlyn Lux safe, great news. If early on the Jinx and Karma can survive, you know, MC gets a level 2 gank on the Xin Zhao Don towards bot lane, it's a perennial thing when you're running a Caitlyn Lux, then things get a bit difficult for Dusty, because we know what happens when Caitlyn lanes fall behind. You're then into a Jinx Ornn game yourself. You've then got a LeBlanc who can pick off your squishy members.
Okay, here's the problem here. If MC wants to red buff into bot lane gank, his top side is exposed and he has an Ornn top side. So that means that not only Viking is he going to get to counter jungle his top side of the map, but then you dive the Ornn, you build the wave, you dive the Ornn, you get the Aatrox ahead. The other problem is that LeBlanc wants to go bot side of the map, but he has a Ryze and his spam push. So I think Riddle here have to go above and beyond, because I think the Dusty draft once again is superior.
I have to do it again. Trouble.
3-0.
What about you?
3. I've placed it on camera. There we go.
I think this is
There's lights on it and everything.
Both casters are saying this. I don't know if I believe them now, but we'll toss it to the casters. Goldberg alongside with Viperoon. What do you guys think?
What do you think?
I think there is more tools to play around with a little bit from the side of Riddle, and I say that because I see ease of execution in terms of having a Jinx, in terms of having something to rely on in the late game. I still think there will be holes, and I still think some of the issues that we have seen from Riddle hasn't necessarily come down to draft all the time. I think, once again, tracking on Viking, pivotal. Finding early skirmishes. Whoa, what the? Hold me. Please.
I don't know what.
What is happening?
I'm so confused.
And I'm scared.
Do you know what? You very well. You did the classic thing of you gave me a lot of words, but neither of them were a prediction.
So I think you can play around the middle. Honestly, I think you have early game agency to play around for. You have LeBlanc and Xin Zhao, which is quite easy to skirmish with.
Yeah.
You have a long-range composition with a Jinx and with a Karma to facilitate extra movement speed. I actually think Riddle can win this one. I do believe they can from a compositional point of view.
They can physically destroy the enemy Nexus, but will they win this game?
I mean, that's up to Riddle, really.
You need to give me a yes or a no.
Why am I answering?
This is what I'm saying. Dusty 3-0. There you go. I've answered.
Riddle get this one.
Okay, I like that. I like that.
I like to stand out.
Took 64 seconds for you to get there.
That's why I'm a color. And
I was going to
play.
say, the desk get the...
It's what we call a Cloud9 statement.
Okay. Also, for those of you who are watching on at home, keep your eyes up for that momentum meter. We've got our high-level analysts and Initialize backstage. See what I did there? It was a little joke at his expense. It's fine.
Fair enough. Well, I didn't really get it was a joke. Honestly, I thought you were nice until you said it was a joke.
You know, just you got to make sure that everyone's on the same page. But minions have clashed. Riddle need to win this game to keep their hopes of going forward alive, keep their hopes of European Masters and the finals alive. Dusty 1 win away from facing Bifrost on Wednesday. You know what? We've got very new look teams that you've already broken down very, very successfully. What are we going to see in the early game? Because this
so let's start at one place, right? Let's start down towards the bot side. What you get when you get a Lux Karma lane is a lane that consistently wants to shove in wave and slowly but surely take care of the turret. Yes. They want to poke the enemy out of their own lane by either hitting the traps, binding, hitting the E's as well from FGG. But what you want to do then with Riddle's bot lane is that you want to contest the wave shop. You want to get the help from Karma to make sure that these waves doesn't get stacked up properly, to make sure that the time that Venza and FGG will have on your tower will not be as long as they would want to. And then it's getting out of lane. Then it's waiting for those team fight scenarios, and it's waiting for the proper window where warding has timed out, where Venza and FGG will be overstepping, and where you potentially can create some pressure by having a winning 2v2 in the mid lane, moving it down towards the bot side, and then catch Venza and FGG, which are immobile off guard.
Interesting. I'm going to keep an eye and see if they do manage to play around this bot side. Of course, top side, we got Aleph on the Aatrox against the Ornn, a champion who can definitely get stuff done. And we know how much Viking has enjoyed going to the top lane. It's been a very fertile hunting ground for him today. Can he potentially do the same thing?
No, I think it's very difficult this time around to go for the top side when you play against double armor or double attack damage dealers in terms of top laner and jungler. You can just go for double armor runes. Viking, don't know if he spotted MC. He will now.
Will have seen him now, but Backlund needs to be careful running down the river. Viking is there to flash more from MC. That could have been dangerous as Backlund's still alive. The damage coming through from Zin, that was big. First blood goes over to Viking. Slowly looking to return it, but the shield is there. Dusty securing first blood onto the Lisa, and that could be massive.
That is so huge that they don't get to just one-shot a target with the LeBlanc and the Centaur, which we have just highlighted. Viking comes out through Fog of War, and Riddle, they're just not ready for it. First blood over to Dusty. And, this was something that needed to work from Riddle. This needed to be a kill. Phase rush from Backlund. Make sure he gets out of there from safety. The Q never gets proc from slow Q, and therefore it never puts him in a lethal range. Slow Q as well playing with the teleport, not the ignite. So there's not really that extra offensive summoner spells to help you chime down the kill, really.
Chan taking a bit of poke, as you'd expect against Caitlyn Lux, as we do see MC and Viking both in the neighborhood. Just checking things out, MC will be spotted up as he clears out the last bit of that ward. Viking notably was not no vision around, but with Venza and FGG extending, pushing further, they are not going to look for a dive, and it's just going to be the recall.
But mid lane failing with that play in turns is a little bit of a butterfly effect, because that means what we just talked about transferring mid lane pressure down towards the bot side, it will not happen. And this helps the Dusty bot lane being more aggressive under the enemy turret, as we're seeing right here.
What they're doing, and they might just have enough to kill the Karma. They will be able to. Chan steps forward, but doesn't go down. Viking is looking towards it. If he can land the snipe, this is a free kill, but MC's going to be following on through. What can Chan do? He has Cleanse, he has Flash. Will use it to get away from Viking, who does need to be a little bit careful, but the minion wave will crash on through. FGG and Venza should be able to come in to support. Flash draw from Lux will hit the binding. The damage is there as well, as Dusty get aggressive and secure another kill.
It's so beautiful. They knew MC didn't have that flash. FGG flashes forward once again. And what a stellar series this guy has had. We were talking in the green room and you were asking me, who's my MVP? I said Aleph, but I did say as well that FGG really has been showing up in this series.
Very, very true. We've seen exceptional performances all three games. Of course, this game is still young, but as we look at this one again, nice bindings, nice plays. Once again from FGG.
It is, and Nuke's not respecting the binding. Remember, that goes through 2 minions, not just 1. Well, it goes through 1 and then continues. Yeah. Viking not only forcing out Fatichan's flash, but also baiting MC forward. And FGG, once again, finding that first binding on a minion, then afterwards, the last one hitting on MC. It's just beautiful.
A lot of resources burnt there. That was 3 summoner spells committed by the bot lane of Dusty. Didn't commit the ignite because it wasn't available. So now the bot lane could be a little bit happier for MC to get down to, because he has the flash from the Karma. He's got the cleanse for Jinx for a little bit of safety. Maybe they can now look to turn things around down there, because I don't know, it's very different look teams, but the game feels the same as we've seen already.
It's still, yeah, in the 2v2, well, you're not going to get much out of that because some of the stealth spells are still lacking on Riddle's side as well. So it needs to be someone else coming around to facilitate and engage like that. And currently for Riddle, you don't really have that. It kind of needed to be the mid lane doing that, but with the play failing in the early game, you don't really get that. I will say, as a silver lining, at least it wasn't Venza who picked up 2 kills.
Very, very true. They have been going over one onto Lux, one onto Viking, who now has 2 kills, so at least they're able to take his bags of money and just wander around the map using them up. Escape is going to try and get engaged onto the Aatrox with the ultimate. Needs to be careful though, as the damage is going to be decent if the World Ender is popped. It is popped just defensively and will back away. It's been it's kind of nice to see Kex not getting dove in this series.
I mean, he is playing one of the most broken assassins in the top lane as well in that on. And we see it as well. Going on Steel Spellbook allows you to opt in for an offensive summoner spell choice with Ignite. But remember, we talked about summoner spells, and both junglers are down here.
Viking moving forward. I don't think they spotted out MC. So
Spotted by Sweeper.
Careful. FGG can have to back away, throwing down the damage, but will be able to secure the kill onto the Xin Zhao. Dukes and Valley Chan run for the hills as Dusty secure another positive play.
It's a decent read from MC because I know a slow push by Wences is being stacked up. Oh no, Kex.
Well, Kex getting knocked up before he dashes, going to be dragged back in, and Aelith again the solo kill.
Oh, and they can even keep up pressure. No, MC, or Viking rather, moving away from that bottom side of the map, but so much action has already come through from Dusty. And as I was just saying, it's a decent read from MC. He knew that Venser and FGG was going to be pushing forward, but Viking knew the same, and he was in perfect position to capitalize on the movement. Surely not.
Oh, that's a lot of damage, and the snipe is going to be blocked out by Falajan, who is going to look to back away. The Ignite was burning onto him, but both will survive from Riddle. But it's exactly how much Dusty's bot lane can do at level 6.
It is a crazy amount of damage, and it's only really the taste of it. Sorg Boots has been finished up by FGG, and if he's a real chat, well, then he's going Ludens. And once that starts coming through, getting hit by one binding can mean death, especially because there's a Karma, there's a Jinx, and there's a LeBlanc. Both are very susceptible to getting one shot.
And we've talked about how good FGG's been so far. You say one binding could be disastrous for Riddle. FGG's been landing these bindings. He's been landing all of the skill shots today, so he could be doing hilarious amounts of damage moving forward. And I mean, Dusty, dominant lead once again. Rift Herald's on the table, so this could be something that Riddle could potentially look to play around. But do they have the priority to do so?
The thing is, if they want to fight for the Rift Herald, they'll have to move multiple members up towards the top side, and those multiple members would have to come from the bot side. Dusty, they realize this, and they say, you can go for that Rift Herald, but if you do, Venser and FGG will be taking the first turret. And even if they don't, I mean, even in the other scenario where Venser will just be crashing this turret and then they'll be moving FGG up, it's still a scary situation with Viking on 2 kills, Aelith on 1 as well on the Aatrox. Like, they're just currently not winning, Riddle.
No, they're not. And for Dusty, they're just going to keep the pressure on. Viking will find MC and could potentially look to make something happen. Loki's there. Aelith and Backlund are also in support, though, as MC has to go over the wall. Aelith following suit. So does Backlund. Everyone's diving through, and the first kill will go over to the Rise. Onto Xin Zhao. The damage is big. The snipe is not enough from Valley Chan this time around as Viking steps away. Kex moving in, but can't find the flank and will be forced back to topside.
Kex was trying to see if he could find a kill with the long-range Call of the Forge God binding. Oh, that is so close. Just slipped his ass.
It was very... if that had landed, that might be the kill. We need to see one of these landing at full health just to see how much FGG can do. But let's have another look at this play, because everyone just commits so hard to get the kill.
And it's once again, just as we talked about, you don't win. Like, you don't win out of the 2v2 in the bot side. You don't win out of the 3v3. So Viking, quite confidently, just looking for the insec immediately. And with the Triumph coming through, also survives the rocket from Fatichun.
Members committed to the top side now for Riddle. The Rift Herald is available. But as you said, this allows Dusty to get themselves this bot tower. Unless they pull the trigger now onto the Rift Herald, which it doesn't look like they're going to do, it means that Dusty can just look to recall, commit to the top side, do the same thing while having priority over.
You're exactly right. This is what we see from a Caitlyn Karma all the time, or Caitlyn Lux. It's about getting the first turret and then just like a board game brick, moving this around the map wherever you want to commit plays. So we should just be seeing that bot lane suddenly turn into a top lane instead, especially with Rift Herald still being an objective to get, and it's still pre-14 minutes.
Yes. It is. So the 5 plates have been taken in the bot lane. 2 plates have been taken mid, 1 in the top side. Dusty starting up the Rift Herald. Only Viking just tentatively deciding whether he wants to go there, decides against in the end. But look at the gold on the bottom of your screen. That looks pretty tasty for Caitlyn.
It most certainly does. So far, well, I think Riddle's best option is to go for at this point is see if you can get some plating on the bot side. Even then, actually, you're not allowed. Aelif's going to be moving down there. Aelif doesn't have that unleashed TP, though. So if a fight breaks out, he's forced to TP to a turret. So maybe Riddle is looking for some place here around the Rift Herald, but even then, Dusty, they're just backing out. They're trimming away the vision that Riddle has just set up, and they can just continue the siege on the turret. They are not in need of a Rift Herald, but it's a nice to have at this point.
I was going to say, Dusty are in no rush to do anything right now. They're absolutely fine, just taking their time, going to be able to grab up this Rift Herald Although Riddle committing members, they might want to go for the fight. As you said, Aelif's the only person not here, so it's a 5v4 as the call of the Forge God will be heard. Venz is going to get knocked up, as will FGT. Going to have to flash away from this one. The Rift Herald could be secured by Riddle, but Dusty don't want to give this one up without a fight. The eye is open towards them as they move forward. It's going to go low. Keep your eyes on the objective. Aelif's coming on. Bruce's damage is big. It goes on the nukes. It doesn't blow him up as Rift Herald will reset, but Aelif on the backline cuts off all retreats, and MC will be the first victim of the fight. Slow Q dives away. It's only going to be one called out for Riddle, but now they can turn towards Rift Herald once again. Dusty take it all.
It looked good initially while it was a 4 versus 5. They burned Summoners as well from Dusty, but as soon as Aelif joins the fight, there's nothing to do from Riddle, and Aelif still being the man of the talk. Slowky will get out of sight, and looks like they're just going to be taking care of the plating now. They have to Rift Herald. They can move this into the mid lane. They can move it up towards the top side. There's so many options currently for Dusty, and it looks like the point of attack will be that mid lane.
They just want to secure this one as fast as possible. Make sure that there's no mid tower at the 14-minute mark. Make sure they're giving as much gold over to Backlund as they possibly can, because a Rise with a little bit of coinage is going to be doing wonders in the mid game. But let's have another look at this play, because Riddle successfully pushed them away, but then things go south.
This is where it looks good in the beginning, because well, it looks better. Good is not the word for it. It's like it's a 5 versus 4. We can try and go for it. Out of the replay.
Kex is trying to defend that tower. 3v1. I don't think he survives, though, as Backlund will tank up the last couple of shots. And is this going to be a 15-plate game?
I was legit just about to ask you the same question. It looks like it. 15 plates, 13 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. 2 Drakes have been accumulated as well. Every objective so far has gone over to Dusty. This might be a perfect game to clean out the series.
10,000 gold before 14 minutes.
Objective bounties will be live in 10 seconds.
But if they're not taking objectives, the bounties don't matter. I mean, okay, we're sitting in Riddle's chairs right now. Not the most comfortable seats in the house.
I feel dread.
What should Riddle be thinking? How do they get back into this game? What do they need to do to bring the game back a little bit in their favor?
I'm gonna quote Jamana on this one and say turn to religion. Sunday is coming up soon, 10 o'clock. Might want to be saying a few prayers there, because you're just not in control of this game. It's about Dusty making a mistake. And usually we'd say this maybe 25 minutes into the game, being like, yeah, it's looking a little bit dire, but it's coming to a close soon. You're relying on Dusty making a massive amount of mistakes. This time around, since it's so early into the game, that means there's a longer time where Dusty's allowed to make mistakes. And let's see if this is one of them.
Might have been caught out, dives away very effectively. Viking is there with the kick. The call of the Forge God will land onto one. It's FGT. Viking will go down. No perfect game around here, as Riddle pick up a nice little pick. But that's all they get.
Yeah, but still, that is the first step. We were just talking about it. That is the first step. And Dusty, they're punished for not having proper vision control around where they're pushing. They had the good idea of pushing out their side lanes. Backlane was taking care of the top side. Aelif was down towards the bot side, but they pushed too far forward in the mid lane. Something up until this point in the series that Dusty, on the other hand, had been quite good at doing.
So step 1 is picks. At what step is send nukes on a flight to Iceland, where Paris is for some Ethernet cables?
Not too sure.
Bit of a Gwen main. It's all good. I'm fascinated to see how Dusty closes out, because again, let's ask the question. They've got themselves all of the towers, which is nice. How are they going to be able to push through? Because as soon as they took all of those towers, we were like, brilliant, great times. We were in the midst of saying Riddle are going to struggle. And then there's an overextension, and then there's a kill. This is kind of when Dusty always seems to be making the small mistakes to give a window back in. The window is open a sliver. It is basically closed. But, I mean, Riddle, they found their way in through narrower openings before.
Yeah, and I mean, luckily, they're not against the strongest of souls. It's going to be a Cloud Soul they're up against. This allows you to wait for potential Baron or Elder, if that's going to be the case this early into the game. Because as we're going on track right now, 18 minutes into the game, Dusty will be sitting on Soul Point. That means by 23, they will be having their Soul. It's a very early Soul playing around with. And from there, that's where the game might start getting a little bit dire. But I'd say that's the deadline we're currently working with from Riddle. Around those 25 minutes, if you haven't really found something, that's where the bell has rang.
Wait, are you saying that would be when it's starting to look a little dark? Because I don't know, Gulwog, but I think this looks pretty dark already for it.
Listen, I like being an optimist, okay? So let's say this is the even ground.
But it's
But let's try and say
I'm gonna question that a little
TP
bit.
coming
Teleport
through,
going
fight
behind
might be
can
breaking
take
out.
down members of Dusty. They're moving on forward. So much goes on, but the Zinzao ultimate does a lot of work to avoid FGG. Kex is running on through, but he's just running a retreat route as he gets knocked up, taken low. Will he go down? No, he survives. The ace in the hole onto Fanichan will be taken by Slowcube in the end. Riddle don't lose any members, but that fight went so badly wrong.
That was a pretty even fight.
No, it wasn't. I am here for optimism. Riddle do have tools for the late game. You've got Jinx, you've got the Ornn, so Ornaments will start getting a little bit of gold back, allowing you to close this gold lead in theory, as the Super Mega Death Rocket will go wide onto Venza as he moves away. But I won't have this. That was an even fight.
Okay, and you are right. It is completely an utter domination so far from Dusty, and they're running around with Riddle. They're literally just using them as punching bags. And, they're not going easy on that punching bags. That is like picture of my... No, I'm not going to go there. But either way, Aatrox can now move up towards the top side, has that teleport available, which means that they can just set up a flank ward around a Drake instead. They're going to be sitting on Soul Point in less than 30 seconds.
Here's the plan. Here's the strategy. Riddle are going to give away Dragon Soul. They're going to coin flip Elder, win the Elder fight with Elder Dragon. They're going to then wipe Dusty, take Baron, and then take a tower. And then Dusty will probably fight back, kill them all, and win the game. But
I don't like when you're just spoiling the game, like telling me how...
Oh yeah, sorry, it's...
tension there, you're taking it away, because it is still like, you're not super tanky just yet. It's still squishy members, and it's still a LeBlanc. Thank you for demonstrating, Slowcube. That we are working with. Okay.
Oh, FGG! No support this time around. Teleport's coming on through as Kex is trying to be that assassin that we talked about earlier on in the game. Let's see if Venza can survive as the rest of the fight goes completely the way of Viking and completely the way of Dusty. They're going to chase on forward and get another one as they look to push towards this mid lane. I mean, hell, could they go and try and get a Dancing Herald?
They might just try and go for it if they want to. My God, FGG is so good this series as well. We highlighted Alif as well, but this man
Alif still MVP?
has to get some praise. I mean, I'm a support main, FGG MVP so far with the Champions League. We're changing it up. And the thing is, he's been a driving factor in this game for sure, like really putting Venza in a good position as well, because behind every good AD carry, there is an even better support helping him walk around.
This is true, and I mean, FGG not looking like a support this time in the game. Look at the damage that he does.
I mean, that may be a cheap shot Lux to me. I'm really hoping it is, because that damage is just absurd. And FGG it's finding picks like that, but it's also the peeling at the same time we're getting from him, even in the later stages of that little skirmish. So now Rift Herald, I think, got secured, by Alif. Soul Point as well has been picked up. 4 minutes and 30 seconds until Soul. I mean, that might just even be out of the question. They might just be trying a beta fight around the Baron in just a small couple of minutes.
I was going to say that, because do you think that Dusty could brute force the Baron?
I think they can, but I think it's not so much about brute forcing, it's about finding the turn instead.
Okay.
I think with the amount of map control you can gain by basically pushing the mid lane turret or minion wave all the way up to the mid lane turret, which is at the inhibitor, you can take so much control of the enemy jungle, which I think is what Viking and the rest of Dusty will want to do now. You can see it now, clearing out deep vision. They have a wave on top side to play on as well. They just have so many possibilities. And even then, right, you can move down towards the bot side where Alif will be current pressure in a bit.
He has to go gold, and a lot of abilities being thrown at him. The Lux will go down, not tanky enough to survive that one. As members moving forward, Dusty want to try and make this one a pick. They want to return at least one kill. Find it onto MC. Alif in the backline, finds it onto Fanichan, as Backland's going to be in the backline looking for more. Finds Kex, gets the damage down, as Alif marauds forward. Could potentially look for another nuke splash the way. Will be able to get the snare down, and actually the assassination of Slowcube gets the shot down, but does go low, gets blown up. Fortunately, Alif isn't there with the Rift Herald to drop, which could be massive for real chances of surviving for the time being.
Yeah, for the time being, and because it's so early into the game, death timers are so low. 10 seconds for Fatigen, 5 seconds for MC. So they'll probably just be able to pick up this mid lane turret, and then they'll have to back out of there. But that's still a naked inhibitor waiting for you to come and pick it up.
Let's have another look at this fight, because FGG gets caught out. Good. Everything else, Riddle, less so.
Oh yeah, but I think FGG getting caught here is a little bit of a blunder. You get to play around with so much pressure, given the shutdown over. Definitely not what you want. But even then, right, it's still Dusty being so far ahead to the point that Riddle can't win the exit fight.
Backzone just going in there, making sure the Kex goes down. And this is really, really nice. You've got to feel that Aleph survives here. They may well just go on to end the game with that Rift Herald. The wave would be looking to be brought in, but this time around, it's a respite for Riddle. Now you can see they're moving in, trying to set up around Baron again. It's a rinse and repeat because they're so far ahead, they can take plays that aren't so optimal. We're actually going to see the Rift Herald dropped in bot lane just to create some pressure.
And the game plan is still the same from Dusty. Push in mid lane. Potentially meet someone who's pushing in top. Take control of the enemy blue side jungle and just force them to come into you so you can take a fight. Because you're so far ahead, you really don't have to worry about taking a fight here as Dusty.
Laporte coming in behind, well not behind, but it's coming in to try and stop this slow Q's there. Kex, they're trying to force through this choke, but Aleph is there playing bodyguard and should be able to get nothing actually as the snipe's going to come on through from Nukes. Half health just from the ace in the hole, but Dusty do relinquish this Baron attempt, at least this time around, as Slow Q trying to go toe-to-toe with Aleph. Rift Herald just farming bot, you know, getting that split push going.
The thing is, every time he last hits a minion, it counts as a last hit for Aleph. So, you know, you are getting some gold by this minion just being down there to Aleph himself. And as you said, it's the pressure. Someone will have to respond to Shelly. Like, no one wants to do it right now because they know as soon as someone shows down there, they'll start up the Baron, which is exactly what Dusty have done again.
I mean, no one's even shown down there as they're going to be starting out the Baron. Get it to 8K, going to get the kill on to Slow Q. That could be big enough for them to just turn on the objective, but they want more. They're baying for blood as Kex is forced to back away. MC looking to get through the other choke, but won't be able to find it as members of Dusty move forwards towards him. Shelly's just having a great old time on the split push. We'll be able to charge down into that tower finally as Baron's turned up for a third time in quick succession. The tower is secured on the bot side. The inhibitor laid bare as Dusty needs to be a little bit careful. Some members are going a bit low, but they're going to turn once again. This time, though, Baron is kept running as Ritel's going to get the charge onto the inhibitor on the bottom of your screen as Baron goes low. Will they be able to secure this one? I think it should be pretty easy as MC comes on through. Can't get the snipe. It's going to be secured by Viking as MC loses his life. Kex is in retreat once more. Will be able to dodge away from FGG as the rest of Riddle need to find the escape this direction. The snipe comes through. It lands onto Nukes. Ace in the hole will also hit the Karma as Aleph is chasing on, looking for his position in the next round. Cuts down Nukes to find his way there as Backland moves towards that bottom Nexus tower, which was charged by Shelly. No Dancing Herald, but you know what? This one is faster. Dusty, after 25 minutes, booked themselves a ticket to face Bifrost for that all-important place in not only the finals, but at European Masters.
And you know what? They might still be waiting a little bit. They still want the KDA. Fatty getting hit by the Draken Rage, and it will be Dusty. Finally, after padding the KDA, as you said, moving their way up to face Bifrost.
Very, very deserved. And we questioned
yes.
a little bit saying, look, Dusty dominated Veneer. Domination. And we were like, hey, you know, Riddle, they beat Excel. That's pretty cool. This could be quite... No, it wasn't even at all.
No, by any means. And I think some of it came down to the drafting, some of it came down to the individual mistakes. And all in all, it was just not Riddle showing up today. It was, to me, it didn't feel like the same. But Dusty, they showed up and they had multiple game plans they could play through. Once the Jinx was taken away, well, here's a Caitlyn Lux and FGG, Aleph. So many members can be mentioned today that really just showed up from Dusty.
And I mean, something that I'm really, really happy about, that third game looked very different in terms of going onto the Rift. Those champions were different. The style needed to be different because they couldn't just play it like they saw from game 1 and from game 2. But they made it look very, very easy. Now it's actually faster and easier than their first 2 games. Everyone, don't go anywhere. We're not going to a break. We're going over this direction, there, as you can see,
Hi.
to the analyst desk, which isn't at their desk, which is very rude of them.
It's the analyst lounge.
It's the analyst.
the lounge.
We've been watching the LCK. We saw T1 and their undefeated.
We don't have a
streak.
carpet, though,
We
yeah.
saw that, like, Dusty are clearly trying to play that kind of idea. We've embraced it.
I'm mad with Dusty.
Before we start, can I just...
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay.
I would like to publicly dodge all of my predictions and apologize to any team so far that I've predicted them winning. Because so far I thought Gulbok was cursing my predictions, but it was me all along. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
no.
dodging all of them.
What have you done?
Oh.
What have you done? Look at him. Look at him. So proud.
I'm sorry. I'm
Oh.
sorry, Gulbok.
No, you're not.
No,
I
you're
am
not.
a little bit.
Okay, we need to get on with the show, and it's a pleasure to have Nukes alongside with us to have the interview after this series of Dusty versus Riddle. Hello, Nukes. I know it's a tough situation to be in. It was a fast one as well. Really complicated to play versus Dusty today.
I mean, I would say that last week we just played exceptionally well, and I guess I almost like expected us to play the same, but we didn't. So it feels a bit weird. But at the same time, Dusty played better than JDXL.
We saw MC on his interview saying that you guys expected XL to already be in the finals, right? And possibly like X7 gatekeeping you from getting also to the finals. But you did manage to beat XL in a completely convincing fashion. What do you think changed between that performance versus XL and today?
I would say like one thing today it felt like not so energetic vibes, and for myself as well, I'm not sure how, but I wasn't like nervous or anything like that much. I was more like chilling, so I'm not even sure if that's a good or a bad thing. And maybe like I mean against JDXL we especially try to pick bot lanes that get prio, but today like we just kind of lost all the lanes bot, and that didn't work out.
It was not the jungle alone. Obviously, it was a lot going on in the map, and just as you told us, the energy was just not there. Is there anything you can point why that was the case, or just happened? And obviously, Dusty are a momentum team, so as soon as they got the momentum, it was really complicated to play against them. No.
Oh yeah, it was. Honestly, I don't know. Like the energy thing. Last week, it's almost like sometimes it happens. It's really low chance that it happens, but sometimes it does. And today it's like average day.
Nukes, I don't have another question for you. I literally just want to say that you and Riddle have absolutely surprised us with your performance, especially the way you played against Excel, and knowing that you guys have this in you as a team actually gets all of us, and I'm looking at a lot of NLC fans as well, fired up for summer. I just want to say massive congratulations for how far your team has come, and I cannot wait to see you in summer, guys.
Smash it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the interview, Nooks. We'll see you in summer and see what happens with this composition of Riddle that showed us so much. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It was a run. It is,
Yeah.
especially when you know that they were really confident before approaching this match. It was just not there. And Dusty, they were hungry.
They really were. And I think it was one of those ones where, again, I kind of called it in the pregame and said, look, it's actually quite difficult to work out how these teams are going to match up because it's a different level for both teams. And do they keep that level? What is that level relative to each other? And unfortunately today, like, we kind of said people like MC, that we're naming the main character, it kind of fell apart a little bit.
He became a side character.
Yeah,
to be
he turned into Master Chief, right? Because the end of the series fell apart. My problems with that game, anyway. But like, there was kind of the issue where the strengths of Riddle were kind of being matched or bettered a little bit by Dusty today, and that made things quite difficult. And you heard the energy wasn't there; they weren't feeling it. And when we say they are a passion team, a momentum team, if that momentum ends up being stalled or they're just not feeling it, it kind of ends up a little bit like that.
I love what you said about the teams because I felt like both of these teams are very similar. We mentioned it at the start, like every single player sort of plays the same exact play style, and it was going to be on the mid-jungle duo. It wasn't because the rest of the map was falling apart for Riddle. I just want to say that I feel like Dusty showed up like a level above their opponents in every single lane. And honestly, if I'm Bifrost and I'm sitting in that position, like one game away from the finals, I would be sweating at this point because Dusty has gotten this far 3-0 everyone in their path.
Yeah, every single time they play in playoffs, they are just demolishing the enemy. And this is why I want to talk with someone today, Zen, the coach from Dusty. I already met him before. We talked about this. Now we finally get the chance to talk after the game versus Riddle. What is happening with you guys? You guys are just going mental.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I mean, my players are playing their hearts out. It is a wonderful thing to see. I mean, what else can I say? I'm enjoying watching these games. They're really fun to watch, and I'm sure they're very fun to play as well, for my players at least.
So, I mean, we've effectively just seen back-to-back 3-0s. Last game today, incredibly dominant. The game against the series against Veneer was equally as dominant in general. I guess beginning of the split, or even halfway through the split, did you expect that come playoffs, when things were actually in a little bit of doubt at some point in the split, you'd even make playoffs, that you'd be able to reach this kind of level? And how far do you think you can go? Where do you think the top end of this squad is now?
Well, I mean, at the very, very beginning, when we started practice, when we started playing together in scrims, we were playing really well. We were playing in some of the best teams in Europe at the time. Well, obviously, it was at the beginning of the split. And we were having good results. We played well. The games looked good. Bit shaky on some of the results, but in general, it was going really well at the beginning, so our expectations were really high. But then problems started happening very quickly once we started. I think we had like a couple of golden zone where we were playing really well, and then things just went downhill over there. Like there was a period of a few weeks where things were really down, things were just not working out, drafts were not working out, individual performance was not working out, mentality was going poorly. And once we lost a couple of games as well in the first week, win 0-3, and that really brings the team down. But we managed to persevere through it. It was really tough, and all credit to the players that we managed to get through it. And once we started picking up wins, we started picking up steam. People started feeling better. We figured out what we want to do as well a little bit more. We got a bit more flexible as well in terms of what we can play. And in the end, right, you see the results of all of that now in playoffs. And I do think that how we're playing right now, I think if we can improve maybe by just another 10-20%. I think we can easily contest for EU Masters. Obviously, it's going to be tough versus our next opponents, but I think we can do it.
Honestly, I'm really happy that you mentioned, like every team goes through downs, right? But it's how you manage to pick up, and if you pick up from there. And I think you guys have done fantastically to actually develop the team. And I'm going to sit on something that you said. It was like drafts were not working out. I just want to give props to you and obviously the entire team, because I feel like your drafting guys today was on freaking point. It felt like every time Riddle were trying to pull, an ace up the sleeve, you had the Uno reverse card in your hands. Can you give us like any insight behind your preparation specifically versus Riddle?
So specifically, I mean, we did a regular prep, right? We don't underestimate any of our opponents. We do preparation really extensively. It takes me a lot of time for all the scouting reports. But it's draft. It is a collaborative effort. All my players have their own ideas, what they like in draft, what they dislike in draft, and sometimes maybe it's a bit hard to put together what everybody wants into the same draft and have it be playable, have it be good. But everybody gives their input. Everybody spends a lot of time and energy, debating all the possible options that we can play for, and then in the end choosing one. And maybe we're not always all happy, all 5 players on the team, on what we're playing, but we at least get, I think, very solid drafts. But again, it is a collaborative effort. My players are doing a lot of work there to figure out, okay, what exactly do we want to do?
Thank you so much for that, Zen. And I wish and I hope the duo versus Bifrost will be longer than it was today. You guys are just demolishing, but it's going to be an interesting one nonetheless. So good luck for that one, and good preparation versus Bifrost. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all the Dusty fans. Bye.
Yeah. And you
I'm converted to a Dusty fan now.
I'm
I believe him.
I'm not converted to a Dusty fan.
The curse. The curse. No, not only you brought in a point, but also he brought a point that Viking confirmed. I had a big chat with Viking for more than an hour, where he told me a lot about the team that I will never share. I don't care what happens. Nobody will know about that conversation. But he brought in a lot of how the team is working together and how they feel as friends as well. And that is, you can see that, you can feel that in the Rift. They're playing as an entire team.
There is a level of coordination is a word, but I don't necessarily think that's quite the right term. But there's a level of like one-mindedness, being on exactly the same page at exactly the same time and going just that step before your opponents, that really hurt Riddle today, because they were there to the play earlier on, or were snapping on engages on front lines and blowing them up before Riddle could really react. And that kind of level of cohesion was really devastating.
I feel like it wasn't just the cohesion, that as well, because they did work as a one punch, right? But I felt like the adaptation from the draft, like the Uno reverse every time on the draft, into the rift, like the adaptation on spot, you know, Viking getting caught back to back in the early game on the second game, he turned it around straight away. They knew how to transition the game so they don't get any further behind. And I feel like having this quick thinking against teams like Bifrost and X7 is going to go a long way.
If they adapt so fast and you are doubting yourself, it's really hard to come back from that. But we should move forward, where we have the bracket. Oh, we're reaching the end. Bifrost versus Dusty is going to be the next matchup. It's going to be Wednesday. And then X7 versus, I don't know.
One of those two.
One of those two.
I
One of
mean,
those two.
at the end of Bifrost X7, I was like, it'll be Bifrost in the finals. It's going to happen. That's the way it is.
But
Honestly, after today, like, there is something to say for the fact that Dusty were kind of punishing what X7 and Bifrost want to do, which is like look to be aggressive, rapid skirmishes, like where you pick quicker than your opponent and you kind of blow them up. And it kind of actually went back and forth in that series with Bifrost and X7. Dusty were doing that to Riddle really, really well today. They were doing it off the mid jungle, the jungle plus everybody. It felt like.
No, well, I don't think
I could
that's.
get worried.
I don't think that's what Riddle were Dusty were doing, because Dusty did not lose 2 or 3 games to anyone.
Well,
Dusty have 3-0'd anyone in their path.
Because they could do what they could kind of like punish what Bifrost and were doing, right?
there's something that I would like to say that Vikings brought in the interview. It's on the video. The idea that if they didn't lose those first 2 weeks, where were they kind of shaky, they would be a top 1, top 2 team. And we're feeling this.
I kind of feel like what Zen told us, it's like, unless you fall down, you don't know if you can get back up.
Yeah.
Or how you adapt after you get back up. I feel like sometimes knowing things that have gone wrong, doing things that are wrong, and learning from them is a huge learning curve, especially for a team that has just formed and is playing together. And I feel like, as Zen said, like the development from that point onwards has been insane.
And like, it's all well and good winning early. The question then is, are you winning because other people haven't figured out your flaws yet, or because you don't have flaws? And I think Dusty figured out, look, here, actually pretty early on, look, we have actually got some relative flaws in the way of playing. Like, support's not quite on time with our jungle, we're messing up some of our dives, lanes aren't going the way we want, etc., etc., etc. Like, they were talking about it earlier. The fact that you figured that early on and then come out with the strengths you already kind of were looking for when you built the roster is really good news. Whereas actually for someone like X7 or XL, they smashed it early. And then people kind of like leveled up, and then you kind of saw some of their flaws, and then they've only got 2 weeks to fix their issues rather than the whole split, right? And I think that potentially has stood Dusty in good stead coming into playoffs. I mean, it clearly has, because they've come in all cylinders going.
We have 2 examples of that, and I'm sorry to bring this in, but you have Dusty, who fell short at the beginning, and they were capable of rising to what we see now. And JDXL were at the top of the game, they tripped once, and they're gone. So I'm sorry to bring this up, but we have to do this. It's playoffs, so let's see what Dusty is capable of doing.
I cast XL's finals in EU Masters, it hurts me. Every time I see XL out of EU Masters, it hurts me.
Moving on now, we have the Prices play of the day by MasterCard. That play that
Could it be from
decided-
Dusty?
Could it be?
I think it could be from Dusty.
Yeah.
So take a peek at what the production brought in for the Prices play of the day.
Let's have a look.
What could it be?
Oh yes.
There's a
Oh,
luck, so
no.
third game.
It is.
FGG and Jeopardy.
This is Aleph doing horrible things on Aatrox in a second. Yeah, like this poor
Ah.
Jinx. This poor Jinx. Goodbye.
No, it's illegal.
Yes.
Aatroxes
Yes.
in playoff series that matter just throws me back to 2018 and the Shy destroying European hopes and dreams.
Don't worry, the Shy is destroying his league
I
right now.
saw the
so-
0-7 Scion, don't start.
And not only did this show the Aatrox and the lead they built up, but the way that they are confident of their team. Aatrox was going to fall, obviously. He was going to die there by LeBlanc, but the rest of the team was like, we got you, bro. You may go to the ground, but we got you. At least we get you an assist. And there you go. This is the
They got,
Dusty
what,
effect.
2 kills? 3?
Yeah, way too much. Now, with this in mind, be careful what's going to happen on Wednesday. Bifrost versus Dusty. It's going to be the next series. Bifrost looked really mean versus X7. They almost took the throne away from the Kings, and they are now looking at Dusty. So momentum. Let's see what happens. But I'll see you soon at Wednesday. I hope you will be back with us. See you guys. It was a pleasure to have you with us today.